What's up, everybody? We're back. What? 2 weekly videos? Who are we? Today's main video is going to be GoPros and Harleys or motovlogs. Whether you're trying to start a motovlog channel or you just like to document your trips, here are some of the tips and tricks that I have learned regarding GoPros and just recording your trips. Some of the things that you could do that is going to help make your footage a little more cinematic. But before we jump into today's video, as a reminder, always be sure to check out the links in the drop down section below. They are links to our TeeSpring Store, the Patreon if you want to come support the channel that way, as well as the Amazon affiliate links at no extra cost to you. Every time you click on one of those links and you happen to purchase something, they help out the channel directly, and I truly appreciate for those that do check it out. Now that that is out of the way, we're gonna go and just dive right into what is this. Whoa, look at this cool tank bag, the Kuryakyn bag. This is what we're running. We're gonna be taking this to Colorado along with our Vagabond bag, which we have yet to swap out for the backpack. I know we're supposed to be reviewing the backpack. I just love this bag so much. It's just so convenient to have it because it's a quick on and off. I just love it. So, but we do need to commit to doing the backpack. That's gonna be one of the next videos coming up. Be on the lookout for that. We're gonna convince ourselves to finally do it. When it comes to cinematic videos, one, yes, the main thing that you can record all the video that you have of what we have going on right now, but you can only make it so much with in camera that a lot of it really comes to post. So the first thing that you're going to do is look at what program you're going to be running. Now I have 2 cameras that we ended up upgrading from just 1 camera point of view to 2, so that way we can do the back and forth, and that way if we're doing a road or highway trip, we can put one of the extra cameras on our cases, on our tank. We can just hold it and get a bunch of B-roll as we're riding. So we have our POV of what we're seeing, but then I can just go and take the camera and then just record as I'm riding, which was a really popular choice for me to run. Probably about a year ago, I did that almost every ride that we had, especially on group rides. I would slow down and let everyone pass me, and then when I would be at the end of the tail, I would accelerate, and I would hold the camera right next to me, so that way I can get everyone, that way I get all the riders from the back to the beginning, and it was just a cool shot. Or what I would do is I would stand up on my pegs, and I would just record as a higher drone shot, and that really added a lot of cool effect to it. That there was a couple time lapses, I think it was for the SBK ride in Dallas, that really looked dope. But again, that was with an older GoPro that didn't have the image stabilization, and so there was a good amount of shake that we were able to kind of mess with in post, but it still made it a little bit disorienting, or we weren't able to use as much as I desired, but we were still able to use some that made it look cool. So again, check out the software. We used the GoPro Studio for the longest time. It's free. It allows you your basic edits. You can incorporate some music that you can import from. Check out Epidemic Sound. That's a lot of copyright-free music, which at first I wasn't a fan of, and I would just use a bunch of copyrighted music where if you're trying to start a YouTube channel, that's going to flag your content. You're not going to be able to monetize it. Then there's a couple things that comes before you're able to monetize. Certain restrictions that you have to meet. That's like 1,000 subscribers and so many minutes of watch time. But let's say you're there and then you start using copyright-free music. I said, whatever, I'd rather have the ambiance, the feeling of the video portrayed of how I felt when I was writing come out, be conveyed to the viewer. But then we started getting some views, and it's like, oh, that could have been some pretty good passive income. And then I really started diving into Epidemic Sound. That's kind of one of the downsides, is you have to really put an effort to search for songs. And every once in a while you come one that's just on the featured page, like, oh, that song's dope, and you add it as your background music, your intro, etc., or your outro, and all the other options that you can think of. But every once in a while I'll just be there and I'll just be clicking on songs, listening, that I really wish they had some sort of a radio feature, kind of like Pandora or Spotify, that you're able just to listen to Epidemic soundtracks, and then while you're driving, while you're riding, just doing something that's in the background, and you can hear it, and you can be like, ooh, that sounded pretty cool. You go back to the track and you end up saving it. That way you're not actively using your time to sift through songs that it just takes a while, that some songs sound cool, and then there's also the portion of the song that you see. So backtracking, there's GoPro Studio, which is free, But the only issue with that is that you're not able to do dual video, that you can't overlay video on top of each other. So it makes it kind of a workload where you have to know where you're editing and cutting your video, so you pretty much have to import your video several times. So say we're filming this POV right here, I import it to GoPro Studio, and then I want a clip because this tree looked cool. I would have to import the whole clip from the GoPro on my handlebars and shorten it to that point, use what I want, slice it, and then re-import the one for my chin onto the timeline, and do that on and on and on until the video is complete, which is just a huge amount of work for, I want to say, very little return. That there's other options you can do, and that's where we first moved into Final Cut Pro, and that was a really cool program. It's about $300, especially if you have an Apple computer. Apple products tend to work a little bit more seamless with Apple products, aka Final Cut and Adobe and Apple computer. But that being said, Apple does have stock in Adobe, so if you do run Adobe Premiere Pro, etc., a lot of the updates tend to be there immediately for Apple products, so that's really cool. So just be mindful of that. The export times are very minimal. I could get into this forever, so we're going to move on. Another software that you can find is going to be DaVinci Resolve. That's another one that I believe is free. We were talking about this in one of the Club Style MA groups earlier, that I believe is free. Be sure to check that out. But if not, you can do the Adobe Premiere Pro. I really like the abilities that you have with Adobe Premiere Pro. It's super easy to use. Now, coming from Final Cut Pro over the last couple years, there was a little bit of learning curve that I had to put in some patience and learning just to get by, but I think the shortcuts are a lot more streamlined for quicker edits. And with that being said, that you are able to use After Effects and cross-platform that, so that's really neat. I really like that. We still have yet to dive into After Effects. I'm sure there's other software out there that you can look. I'm just familiar with those. You can even do it with Movie Maker. That I do a lot of quick ones on my phone. What do you need to start recording your trips or motovlogging? Now, if you want it to be mobile while you're riding, say you're going to go ride the Grand Canyon, or you're crossing borders, say it's your first out-of-state trip, or like us, we're going to Colorado. I've never ridden Colorado. I've been there multiple times with my family, and I've always thought, wow, this would be awesome to ride. So I really want to record as much as I can going to Colorado. So I'm going to want to do a lot of POV where I have the camera at my disposal, like, and I can either press record if I want to record, like, that's cool, click. And if I'm done, if it's just a dead straightaway, I can unrecord and I can stop recording and then just let it be. But it's always out and quick moments notice, where I think it's about a 2-second delay for the camera to turn on and off. And these people almost crashed. At the top of the list is going to be an action cam, primarily GoPro, because they are leading the competition when it comes to action cameras. That even then, talking about that, so you're looking at a camera to start recording that. And say you want it on your helmet, you don't need the 8. The 7, there's a 7 that has 2 battery packs on Amazon that's $279, that you already have a good amount. You have 2 batteries that's going to help you get by. All you need is the chin mount, and then you're good. Or you can even do this inexpensive brake reservoir mount that I wish I could take credit for, but thanks to Will, FXDB, he's the one that showed me how to do it. But just be mindful that every once in a while, the 3M tape on the bottom gets a little weathered, and you just have to watch it. And if not, also be mindful of these arms. After long periods of time, extreme heat, cold, and just general weather, along with the vibrations, these will snap off. We actually lost a GoPro session in Phoenix, Arizona. It just went whoop, off it goes, and we were on the highway, so I couldn't stop. And if we stopped, I'm sure by the time I got back around to it, it would have been kaput. Plus, we would have played Frogger on the highway trying to get it, and I just didn't see my life being valued over a $180 GoPro. I wish they would make more GoPro sessions because I like them, but I guess they don't find the value in making more of them. But what if you don't want to spend money on an action camera? Well, nowadays you have your cell phones, which take amazing video as well as high quality photos at your disposal right there in your pocket most often. Or if you have a bar set up, they are on your bars, but you can't freely use it and ride twisties like this, where sure, I could probably hold on to it at this moment, and then here might be a little interesting Where it's still dual. Is it safe? Probably not, because what if you hit a pothole and all of a sudden your bars buck a little bit, then you're going to go into a little bit of a wobble. But let's say you're out on the road and you see a scenic spot and there's an overlook here. You can pull off into it, pull out your phone, record around, take some photos. Or if this is a cool turn, you can pull over with a friend if you're traveling together and have your phone and just have them record you hitting these twisties, and it's going to be wow-wee. There's a lot that can be taken into consideration when it comes to improving your footage and your overall end result of cinema quality. Because one thing I will say is shoot as much as you can. It's much better to have a ton of B-roll that you may not use, but that way you can draw upon should you need it. Where there's been a couple times where, or I think that there's a clip that's just too short, and if only it was a little longer, well, sure, that's what she said. Well, that's where the B-roll will come into play, where if we're just hitting these twisties and it's not quite long enough, as she said again, for, let's say, Instagram, you want to do a quick little edit to show off your stuff. What's up, brother? Then you could film, let's say, this area during the morning or evening with a sunrise or sunset, or you could do a cool time lapse for other riders in the area, you all at lunch. Technically that's B-roll, and now you have filled up the dead space. Ooh, that scared me a little bit. You have filled up the dead space that was once really short. Now it's nice and long, and there's a lot of innuendos coming in this video. Watch out, y'all. And then the last thing for this video regarding improving your quality of video regarding GoPros and motovlogs or Harleys is going to be placement. What angle are you shooting? That, again, we're going to take this turn, for example. This turn is cool. You may just be seeing me with my POV. This is cool. But then what happens if all of a sudden you add a different view, an outside view of what other people might see? Let's say looking at me while I take a turn, and then it looks maybe a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more aggressive. It's like, whoa, bro, that's me. And then you can see the landscape behind me. Or what you can also do, this is where your mounts can come into play. Stand by while we hit this. I need both hands. I have the handlebar mount, well, both mounts really, the one I'm actually on the bar. I have it on a swivel mount, so if I want to say, oh, look at this awesome hillscape that's blocked by trees currently, I can swivel it, and then you can see the sky, the trees, as I'm rolling on by. Or if I want to do a quick forefront side, if there's, say, Grand Canyon, and I want to keep my head straight, watching out for perils, then you're passively recording while keeping your eyes and concentration on the road. Or you can do it over the shoulder if you're riding with buddies. That way they still have your POV of you in the frame, as well as other people you're riding with in the frame. That's really neat to do. This is kind of neat for time lapses. If, say, you're riding a long distance but you don't really want to record, is try doing a time lapse. I know that the new GoPro 7 and then beyond, they have a time warp feature where you can set the interval. It's 5 times, 10 times, I think 20 and 30, where it says for 30 seconds of video, it's a second of final video of what it does, and it automatically does a time lapse for you, where instead of taking a shot every so many seconds and then you having to make the time lapse video in post, it exports as its own time warp, which makes it extremely easy, going back to the GoPro as being a dope camera, that it makes it a all-around well-versed camera to bring on trips, and then you can add 2 of those and then you have really cool footage. Then you can also be creative with how you mount it. You can also do a chest mount, or I like to have a couple mounts on my Pelican bags, and there's also one on the rear fender that if I'm riding with a big group of people, and let's say we're hitting some twisties, then I can put the camera behind me and it gets some cool footage of other riders too. That can help add depth to your videos and just a little bit more context for people to enjoy. That makes it less mundane, and you can make it work whether you have 1 camera or 2 cameras, where you just have to be mindful of what you're doing. When I only had 1 GoPro, I would hit a road the same route about 5 or 6 times, and I would do one with the chin mounted. I would get off the bike, go back to the spot, I would put one on the side of the road, film what I was doing, do a ride by, get off the bike again, put it somewhere else, do the same route again, and I would stitch them together, where yeah, that took a hot minute, but it made it really cool. It was a really cool effect and end product in the end, where it was just a lot more creative and more, I felt it made people want to watch it more and just view it, that they enjoyed it. So it's just little things like that just to take into consideration that might make your videos much more enjoyable.